Hi, welcome to Five Questions with Philanthropy Company. And this week we are talking to Erin Roesch. Thank you for joining us, Erin. So just to introduce myself, I'm Annalise Pask. I'm one of the directors of Philanthropy Company. Erin is kindly joining us today. She's at the Sage Foundation at the moment, but with a really fascinating background, over a decade in the charity sector, both leading development teams, grant writing, consulting, and she has mostly been in the US, recently relocated over here to the UK. So I know is going to have some really interesting insights from both sides of the pond, and across lots of different areas of the world of fundraising and philanthropy. So I will kick off, Erin, with our first question, if I may, which is, and this is a difficult one because I know you could probably list a dozen examples, but which person or organization dedicated to philanthropy do you admire and why? And they could be past or present.
So for this one, I actually choose a company, and I'm going to choose Slack. So I work for Sage, which is in the tech space, and I really admire how Slack took a social issue. They took mass incarceration back in 2018, and they built a strategy that really spanned across multiple sectors. So they brought a corporate voice to providing jobs for the 21st century, but then they brought in a funder. They brought in the Kellogg Foundation, and they brought in an implementer with the last mile. And what I appreciate about that model, and why they're my favorite, is because of that cross-sector approach. And so as much as I think we can be thinking outside of our little silos, that's how we really move the needle on social and environmental impact.
Fantastic. Yeah, love all of that collaboration and convening others to make something happen. Brilliant. So what change would you like to see, or are you looking forward to seeing within the charity sector in the year ahead?
Right. Well, I think we're in a really pivotal moment as a society, both in the US and in the UK, around transparency. And now more than ever, donors, whether that's a corporate donor, a private donor, a foundation, want transparency on the ROI, right? What's the return on our investment? And so I think gone are the days where I've read through annual reports and you might see, oh, our program increased confidence by 83%. That's great. That's wonderful. But how many people were in the class? How many people signed up? Not just signups, how many people actually graduated? Was that class meant to get them a job? How many actually got a job? Of that, at what living wage rate, right? So we want to get from, if I give this grant, what is the clearly defined needle, and can you as an organization measure your movement around it? And if you can't, partner with the philanthropy company to do that hard work, because I think that's the change. Not only do I want to see, I think we're going to have to see is stronger correlations to ROI for investment.
Great. Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. I think impact is so competitive out there. Impact is more important than ever. Thank you. So question three, and I know you're really interested in storytelling and how you talk to donors. So what's your top tip for pitching to potential donors?
My current boss always teases me because I'm always pitching. And I think it's that fundraiser in me. I just make big asks. And I think you have to know your audience. So one of my proudest moments as a fundraiser was in the US, we can be very politically divided, and that even trickles down to the philanthropy sector. So we had two family foundations that were on opposite sides of the political aisle. And I took a project, it was around workforce development, and I pitched it to both. They didn't know this. Had they known actually that I was trying to get funding for both of them, they would have just rolled over and not done it. But I pitched to the left. I talked about our living wage, the fact that our board was predominantly African American, that we were moving the needle on mass incarceration and justice. And then I went to somebody who was on more the political right, and I talked about the American dream and the potential of enterprise to build futures for tomorrow. And I went to the final round of funding for both of them, which was just the point. And I didn't lie. I simply emphasized different elements of what we were doing to know my audience. We ended up getting one of those grants, and they said it was the best they'd ever seen. And they never knew that I sold it on the other side.
I love that. Well done. That is a great story. Yeah, the power of that, of the nuance, and knowing who you're talking to. Really well expressed there. Thank you. So across your experience, across different organizations, what key lesson have you learned that you think nonprofits could benefit from?
I think nonprofits in particular need to do more bottom up and not so top down. So the board is important. The board has to set kind of the vision and where we're going, and maybe the how, but I think maybe even the what needs to be determined grassroots, bottom up. So I've worked in organizations where my manager was actually a graduate of the program that I ran for 2 years, and he superseded me and I reported to him. And so he brought this deep experience about the needs and the felt concerns of the people that we served, and issues. And so I think that is the lesson. You will do better, you will be more sustainable. And this goes back to kind of a DEI mentality: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nonprofits have to be doing that hard work too. And more, the corporate world is going to be asking that of you. I've seen a big shift in grant applications, asking really nitty-gritty questions about who you serve and are they represented in your staff.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, really good point. Thank you. So our final question, apart from your current role at Sage, where do you feel you've made the greatest difference, and what are you most proud of?
I think the philanthropy sector is staffed largely by women. I think this is something we kind of need to change. We need to challenge and bring more diversity. But I'm really passionate about women not burning out their bodies in service to other people. And I think that there's a sort of an unspoken tax that we've paid even in our physical health because we're so passionate about what we do. And so as a kind of a side hustle, in addition to being a grant writer, I started my own LLC where I was coaching particularly nonprofit women around health and sleep and stress management. And so I think my proudest accomplishment is over 4 years, I coached 280 women across 6 countries, and 72 of them were nonprofit executives, just basically saying, you do not have to live off of black coffee and skipped meals. Like, as much as you are passionate about what you do, you need to sleep. I know you're an executive director and your board needs you, but like, you need to shut the phone down and you need a good meal. And so that's what my proudest achievement is. And a lot of those were mothers. So I felt like I was helping their children and their spouses and lengthening their lives, honestly.
Yeah, amazing. And yes, as you say, the wider effects of that support that you've given those women on families and workplaces and the beneficiaries of those nonprofit organizations. That's fantastic. I think we could have talked for hours, but thank you so much, Erin. Some really interesting insights and thoughts shared there. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.